Guys, we've all been there. At some point you look in the mirror and say, where did my hairline go? Those power alleys in left and right center field continue to grow as you get older. Did you know that 66% of men lose their hair by age 35? Thing is, when you start noticing hair loss, maybe a little too late. You don't want that bald spot to just pop up. You want to do something about it first. That's why you need to visit 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Science. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. They have well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. Look, this isn't snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Instead, prescription solutions backed by, again, science. No waiting room, no awkward doctor visits. Save hours by going to 4hims.com. Just answer a few questions, the doctor will review and give you a prescription, and products are shipped directly to your door. Order today and listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 while supplies last. See website for full details. Look, that'll cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/wingo. That's FORHIMS.com/wingo. 4hims.com/wingo.
At Trex, we know there's a place for wood in your backyard. We recommend the fire pit. But when it comes down to choosing the right material for your next deck, look no further than the superior beauty and durability of the world's #1 premium decking brand. Trex delivers the look of wood without all of the work and the worry, and it's made from 95% recycled materials, which makes it the right choice for your backyard 100% of the time. To learn how to make Trex your next deck, visit Trex.com to order samples.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
We're with you on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. But Brett, like everyone else today, is dragging.
Yeah, listen, we're not going to sugarcoat it.
No.
We all had the group outing yesterday at the Hartford Yard Goats AA minor league game where Tim Tebow was there for the Binghamton Rumble Ponies.
Wore him out.
We actually said we were going to smack talk him when he was on our show, and he said that's cool, and
totally
Jerry did. We really smack talk. And let's just all be honest. We're all hungover. I mean, we just are. That's just what happened. We went to a 10:30 game.
Yep.
There was day drinking and a lot of day eating. That went on.
Food was really
good.
But
the bottom line
the
is,
day eating has gotten as much as anything else.
Yeah.
When you deviate off the norm that much, that cheesy tater tot beef combination.
Holy smokes, was that unreal?
Altered my chemical makeup at a cellular level.
Think of nacho toppings, but instead of nacho chips, it was tater tots. And it was unbelievable.
I'm still trying to process what Junior just said. It altered my chemical fiber at a cellular level?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually understood
say
it.
you got fat.
Yeah. No.
Just
because it didn't. I didn't
just
get.
Say you got fat.
I didn't get fat. It changed the person I am. Like my DNA sequencing is different now. I need that to survive.
Way deep.
All right, we'll do more of that with Fitz because he was there as well throughout the first pitch.
Yes,
He'll
he did.
Join us at the top of the hour.
He didn't bounce it in, but he cheated. We'll get to more.
We'll get to all of that.
Controversy.
Yep. It's time now for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So the Sixers' unbelievable run is done, right? And maybe they should have won more games in this series, but I don't think anyone's can be upset with the way things have played out.
They
for
exceeded
the
expectations,
exactly,
no
right.
doubt
Except
about
for sycophantic fans like Cliff, who once they got the playoffs signed up for the NBA finals,
right? Which
was just a horrendous mistake. Kind of like Love in the Elevator to start the show.
There you go.
Smith. Not sure where we were going with that one.
Nope.
I was trying to put it all together.
Nope.
But so now they've got to figure out what happens next. And head coach Brett Brown, who by the way, came under some criticism for a couple of ATOs, which was the specialty of Brad Stevens after timeout plays.
Right.
Said, look, we know that when push comes to shove, that we'll always have to deal with Boston at some point.
If we're going to do anything of any significance, we're always going to have to go through the Boston Celtics. And I respect very much this organization. I think Danny and Brad are fantastic. You know, you're always looking over your shoulder and watching how they've decided to grow their program. And this was a hard-fought series. You know, it ends up the way it always ends up. There are possessions that you wish you had back, and that's life. And the game changes and life changes with those type of fragile subtleties.
Now, as much as I respect the fact that he respects the Celtics and all that kind of stuff, when you hear someone in the Eastern Conference say, we know we're going to have to go through Boston to get something done, somewhere I imagine LeBron James saying, hold my beer.
See, I was going to say, though, I get what he's saying.
Yes.
I mean, because I agree with you, hold my beer, but for how much longer? That's the thing. The beer's almost gone. Yeah. Whether he's leaving Cleveland after this year or he's there another couple of years, I get it. The way the 76ers are built and the way the Celtics are built, they're built for a long haul. Now, depending on contracts and all that, when the young players start to get older, are they going to hang around or what's going to happen there? But I get what he's saying because these are two young teams built to last right now, and the Celtics is doing it better at this point right now, even with the injuries, which makes it that much more mind-boggling to me. But I think that's where Brett Brown was going, and I completely get it.
Yeah, they're looking at their peer group in this one, which is basically the rookie class. I mean, for as much as we're talking about the slight benefit that the Celtics playoff experience from last year has provided certain guys on that team, this is still the youngest roster, I believe, in the NBA, but at the very least was the youngest roster in the playoffs. So this is who they're going to have to stare across the aisle at for a while, and Brett Brown knows he's got his hands full.
He does. And he's also got his hands full with ridiculous fans in Philadelphia. Cliff has tried to fire him twice.
Yes, he has. Because he wanted Jay Wright.
First, he wanted Jay Wright, and now he wants to fire him again because they only got to 5 games of the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Cliff, do you still want him out? Do you want him gone?
Firing for a third time now.
Get him out!
Seriously?
Unbelievable.
Yes.
3 times.
100%. This is pathetic. He made some comments along the lines of, if we had the beginning of the season, our expectations, we exceeded them, blah, 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 blah. That's a loser's mentality. He deserves to be fired.
But it's also
he should have been fired. He should have been fired.
It's also 100% true. What were your expectations when the season began?
Expectations change, Trey.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
So now there's hot take guy.
Right.
Hot take guy in Philadelphia. And then there's knowledgeable guy in the NBA who happens to be our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. This is what Woj said on the Le Batard show yesterday about the idea of someone going full Cliff on Brett Brown.
Brett Brown is in line to get a contract extension. You don't win 30 more regular season games, win a round of the playoffs, and then all of a sudden somebody doesn't like your out-of-bounds play in one game, and you're going to make a change because of that? It's insane. Decisions aren't made off of one moment or a couple moments in one series, especially with a young team. And the other thing, too, is Brad Stevens might be a better coach than Brett Brown. He very well might be. So is everybody in the league going to fire their coach? Everybody who doesn't have a coach as good as Brad Stevens, they're all going to fire their coach? And then who are they hiring? And so I think some context gets lost in all of this sometimes. He's a keeper. And coaches, the way you get better coaching in playoff situations as a head coach is to coach through them. It's like a player.
Basically, Cliff, that is Adrian Wojnarowski telling you take that for data, just so you know.
He's a good coach that lives about 14 miles from the Wells Fargo Center.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Would look sharp on that sideline too. The guy is just
he
has
looked sharp on that sideline. Remember,
so here's where we're coming out with
true.
Brett Brown. Are you on team crazy, which is Team Cliff, or Team Win, which is Wojnarowski?
Oh, I mean, I don't think he should lose his job. It would be then the second person, Sam Hinkie, isn't around to see the fruits of his labor. And could you imagine Brett Brown getting fired after going through he was basically, this is what you have, man. Sorry, we're going through a process right now. He's like, okay, I'm coaching this, and I know we're going to lose. To now they're right on the precipice of being one of the top teams, and if he got fired and wasn't able to be around to get the fruits of that labor, oh, my God, that would be such a bummer for him personally. There's no way I think he should be fired.
Yeah, I guess Mark Jackson can wrap an arm around him at that point if that ever comes to fruition. The funny part about listening to Woj talk about that stuff is the idea that you don't do that in coaching, but that's exactly what we do across the rest of the league.
Yeah.
What have the last few off seasons been driven by? The fact that if you're not as good as Golden State, that you shouldn't be making moves, that most of what you've done is futile. The fact that in the Eastern Conference, if you can't beat LeBron James, you should be blowing your team up. The fact that we've watched teams get blown up, the Pistons that we talked about, that old Pacers group, the old Bulls team, this is the way that we respond all the time in certain avenues. So to say that response would be ludicrous in coaching kind of ignores the tendencies that we display across the rest of sport.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean those tendencies are right.
Oh, I'm not saying they're right, but to act like it's insane would be to ignore a ton of historical precedent.
But that doesn't mean it isn't insane.
I guess what I'm saying, but it's normalized. So if the insane is normal, then that's sane and everything else would be insane.
What you're saying in this situation is the exception.
We live in an insane world. It's sanity in an insane world.
Which if you just sit and think about it and think about where the future is going, Philly and Boston both are in fantastic places right now.
By the way, I love the fact that you use that line. That's one of my favorites. John Cleese of Monty Python fame. He always says when he was young, he thought the world was a sane place with pockets of insanity. And as I got older, I realized the world is an insane place with pockets of sanity.
That's it.
And that's sort of where we are. I mean, Dwayne Casey has to go because the Raptors couldn't get by LeBron James.
One of the greatest players of all time. Yeah.
Exactly right. They won 60 games. Did they win 60? I think they won 60 games or 59.
59.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and now Brett Brown, because of people like Cliff, well, you got to fire that guy. Oh, just 3 words. Stop that now.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr.
I have second spectrum stats. Paul made 8 jump shots off 10 or more dribbles in Game 5, the most shots made by any player in a game in the last 5 seasons. There you go, second spectrum.
Second spectrum stats.
I hope the people at Second Spectrum send like a cease and desist or something to stop you monsters.
From this?
I just gave you one more stat.
Sorry, hit the wrong.
Second spectrum stat people all trying to get their new pocket protectors, so not worried about them coming
wow.
after. Sports Center brought to you by
coming in hot.
Discover Card. Become a new card member. Discover Card is going to match all the cash back you've earned dollar for dollar at the end of your first year. Learn more at discovercard.com/match. Limitations do apply.
All right, we continue. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. If you weren't with us at the start of the show, why did we do the start of the show?
Yeah.
But anyway, we were all here, and it's been a struggle.
It's been a struggle, and we're going to get to a something that was very
ridiculous,
poorly handled. But before that, we were, again, the Golic and Wingo outing at the Hartford Yard Goats AA minor league baseball game where we all ate too much and drank way too much. This is how bad it got. Minor league baseball, in between innings, they always do these crazy things.
Oh, yeah.
There was a toddler race.
Yep.
Toddler. I mean, these 2 and 3 year olds.
2 and 3 year olds. We had 3 of them out there.
3 of them out there. A toddler race. Do you know what was happening where we were sitting? Bets.
Yeah.
There was money on the table betting on toddlers. This is what we were doing.
We found a new low.
We bet on that. We bet on the race where the donut won, and we bet on you won on something, a nasal spray thing.
Yeah, that was my only win of the day. Toddler number 3 really let me down. I mean, talk about not delivering on what you were showing. The kid stumbling out of the block. I saw a lot of enthusiasm that netted me.
He lost something off of his head and he just stopped. That just threw it in the towel.
No composure.
Threw in the towel.
We'll get to more of that when Jason Fitz joins us at the tab. We did do that, and Jerry just heckled Tim Tebow mercilessly. But anyway, speaking of strange things,
yes,
there are 2 Coach of the Year awards that go down in the NBA. Mm-hmm. There's the writer. Yeah, who knew that, right? There's more than one.
Huh.
So there's the Writers Award, and then there's the one voted by all the coaches. And for whatever reason, Brad Stevens, who I think might be the Coach of the Year, considering he lost Gordon Hayward day 1 and then lost Kyrie Irving down the stretch and find themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals. In the vote awarded by the actual coaches of the NBA, well, all the coaches have a vote. He didn't get a single vote for Coach of the Year. Not one vote. Single vote for Coach of the Year.
And
that makes no sense.
And to add to it, didn't Brett Brown say something that was somewhat interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, after the game, Brett Brown said that he thought it was crazy that Brad Stevens didn't get a vote when Brett Brown himself
has
a vote.
He had a vote.
Well, here's the exact quote. He says, "You're saying he didn't get a vote? He should have gotten a vote. I would vote for him. He would get a vote from me. You had a vote. Who did you vote for then? Or did you just not fill in your ballot? The only thing I can think of is, I didn't fill in a ballot."
Well, see, here's the thing that people need to know, because this would go on in the coaches poll in college football.
Yes.
Every week there was a coaches poll, and the coaches very rarely were the ones that voted. Yeah. They would leave that to the PR guy, or somebody else would put the vote in. The coaches would never vote. So I wonder how many coaches actually voted for a coach here, or they just said, go ahead, vote for who you want for the PR person. So, but I mean, Brett, come on. You'd have voted for, you had a vote. Who'd you vote for?
Yeah. Someone would have someone else handle their votes or picks. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know that.
I can't imagine anyone would have the lack of honor to go through with
listen,
that.
I always thought it ridiculous in college football, quite honestly, during a season that a coach was going to vote on who the top 25 teams are. We all know how these coaches are. They hibernate and worry about their team. They're going to rate the other top 25 teams. I thought it was ridiculous. So I had no problem if somebody else gave the vote, but I have no idea what happened here.
Yeah, I just don't quite understand how you can say he didn't get a vote. He would have gotten my vote.
Yeah.
You had a chance to make the vote.
You had a vote.
Yeah.
You had a vote. So
I'm trying to figure out how many coaches received votes would be my question. I'm asking Brett this more. How many coaches received votes in this? Because Dwayne Casey was your winner.
He won.
Based on his regular season, you can understand. This is like handing out the NBA's regular season MVP at the award show after the finals, where it's just poorly timed. Dwayne Casey just got embarrassed in the Eastern Conference semis.
Understand what we're saying. Brett Brown Brad Stevens, who's going on to the Eastern Conference Finals, didn't get a vote.
Yeah.
And
but
Casey,
nobody voted for him.
And Dwayne Casey won and is probably going to get fired.
Yeah. Brett, you have an update for us.
According to the NBCA, Coaches Association, 7 other coaches received votes in addition to Casey: Brett Brown, Mike D'Antoni, Nate McMillan, Greg Popovich, Quinn Snyder, Terry Stotts, and Doc Rivers.
Look, I can't fault any of those guys getting a vote.
Doc Rivers got votes and Brad Stevens did.
But I can't fault him not getting a vote. That's ridiculous.
Doc Rivers?
So
seriously.
We're saying we have some integrity issues in the voting?
Wait a minute.
8
Doc Rivers?
8 coaches.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like when you make a Pro Bowl.
Did the Clippers make the playoffs?
They did not. Keep getting them because of what happened previous years. So look, we're trying to get to the bottom of this.
Doc Clippers?
Clippers.
Doc from the Clippers? Doc Rivers from the Clippers?
Clip it. You know, Golics are very important in hockey. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. Doc Clippers, is that what you said?
Doc Rivers?
It's gonna be a long day, folks. Just know this is just a taste.
Doc Rivers?
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Left to center field, bets back, turning, looking, see ya! A long home run for Judge.
I just want us to win every day's game, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is.
And the Yankees have won 17 of 18, and right now it is good to be a Yankee fan.
Yeah, it better be good to be a Yankees fan when you've won 17 of your last 18 games, last achieved by this storied franchise in 1953. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then there's guys like this guy sitting to my left.
Turn your mic on. You are a professional.
First one out of the gate.
Wow. Yeah.
Jason Fitz joins us from Spain and Fitz, of course, longtime fiddler. And what was the other band manager, music manager for the band?
Band leader, music director.
Yes.
So
Grand Poobah, Master of Time, Space and Dimension.
Yeah.
All those things.
Did you have like a business card that said all that?
No.
But it looks like he probably has it tattooed on one of his arms.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
No. It basically just meant like I did the arrangements and figured out who played what in shows. And
you had to do the stuff that no one else in the band felt like doing, so they made you do it.
Like the actual music stuff that's sort of
the actual music, the important
stuff.
Things.
The
important stuff sounds like the people singing out in front of the band. That sounds like the important part.
Anybody can sing, but hey, let them do it without the music.
You guys are starting the shade early here. Let's remember, I did not drink yesterday at the Yard Goats game, so I am in tip-top shape this morning.
Which means you're going to win, and you're the only one.
Yes.
Because we have been talking. We had our group outing yesterday, and it started with you, Jason Fitz from Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Nice. By the way, I would kill for a 3-hour shift. We started with you throwing out the first pitch at the Yard Goats game, and how did it go?
You know what? I think my natural athleticism was on display. I want to thank my coach. I want to thank my life coach, God, everybody. I really feel like I stepped up and I showed the world what greatness looks like. I haven't gotten a contract offer yet from the Yard Goats, but pretty sure. And let's not forget, Tim Tebow did not start the game, which is an absolute indication that he's scared of me.
Okay, can I just say, you started 5 different sentences in that answer and never finished one of them.
Well, that's how much excitement there was for the pitch.
He started right here, then he went there.
Can we jump into the reality of the situation of throwing out the first pitch? What did you do the day before you had to throw out the first pitch?
That's, you know what, all great athletes practice, all right? Yes, I called a buddy of mine and said, hey, I don't think I've thrown a baseball more than 20 times in my life, so we should probably go to a park. And so I did, yesterday, the day before I went.
You went to a park and practiced?
Yes, I went to a park and practiced.
And then you got to the ballpark?
Yes.
And you wanted to warm up and you couldn't?
Right. My friend did tell me, oh my God, for the love of all things holy, insist that you get some warm-up pitches. And so I went down there and I asked the really nice girl, I was like, hey, is there somewhere where I can throw a couple warm-up pitches? And she said no. So I texted my friend and said, I don't get warm-up pitches, and his immediate response was leave now, just run out. So
save yourself.
Yeah, but you know what? No, it did not matter. I did not put it in the dirt.
So the important part of it, very quickly, when you walked out to the mound, were you able to kick some dirt off the rubber to kind of get a good foot placement off the rubber on the mound?
Yeah, how was your
plan where
there?
You're going there, gentlemen. But let's remember, I was not the only person to throw out the first pitch. They have a sequence of people. I was the truth. Last one. And B, the team. I looked at him. I said, "Ooh, everybody else throwing from in front of the mound." And the team said, "So are you." And that was it. There was no discussion about it. They did not allow me to go near the dirt.
How do they not allow you to go on the mound?
See, if you were an alpha, you would have just walked straight out to the rubber and said, I'm doing this. What are they going to security going to come and throw you out in the midst of that?
I'm representing this company. I'm going to do it the right way. And I've been holding this in my back pocket waiting for this argument. Let's remember the men's head basketball coach for University of Hartford threw right before me. He also threw in front of the mound. Are you going to question his
If he were sitting here right now, I would destroy him. That's exactly right.
Come on.
That doesn't count.
The right way. The right way's from the mound.
At all. 100% of the way. Golic and Wingo here with you. Jason Fitz from Fitz in Spain, or Spain and Fitz, whichever one it is. Spain and Fitz.
Well, my name's first in everybody's hearts.
Well, that's true. And also alphabetically. I was told that's how the name of this show went, alphabetically.
Yeah.
So that's
why I just keep thinking that.
Apparently not. Yeah. Spain and Fitz. My bad. He joins us in studio giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. And now let's get straight to what's trending. The Celtics beat the 76ers 114-112 to win their conference semifinals in Game 5. Boston closed it out on a 9-3 run over the final minute 27.
For this series, I really thought Boston was going to wipe them out last night and had a couple chances to get there. But then having a 4-point lead with about $1:30 to go in this one, I thought, man, they have a chance to pull it out. And 12 seconds ago, Embiid, has the shot, the putback, the rebound, doesn't make any of it, gets a ball knocked off of his leg, then loses possession. A very competitive game, an incredibly competitive series. This game had, 21 lead changes. And I guess the more out of it, I just say is Jason Tatum just continues to be unbelievable for the Celtics. As a team, they're playing well without Kyrie Irving, but this guy has been incredible.
They've had a number of guys that can take over, but 7 straight 20-point efforts from him has been impressive. On the other side, I was very confused now. This is the second straight game where Joel Embiid ends up with a good stat line, 27 points on the night, and started to be more assertive, but seemed like he needed a jump start. And the other day it was TJ McConnell, and last night it was Dario Saric, who had a hell of a game for them, has sort of reinvented himself as more of a post guy this series, but he seemed to be the catalyst for everything that we saw later in the game from Joel Embiid, which confused the hell out of me for a guy that's been sort of the guy out in front of everything for Philadelphia.
That's what Philly's going to look back on in this series. They're going to realize that Embiid and Simmons did not play particularly well, and they still had the opportunity to win several of these games. It's alarming. Should be noted, we got the Final Four we thought we were going to get, right? Yeah. For all this excitement, we got Boston, Cleveland, and Houston, Golden State.
But we thought Boston would have Kyrie, and that would be
and Gordon Hayward.
That's the amazing thing. By the way, when you said didn't play particularly well, he did have 1 point in one game. Ben Simmons did, and also never took a jump shot.
Ben Simmons took 59 shots and did not make one from outside the paint.
Wait a minute, is that a second spectrum stat?
Yeah, I think it is. In the restricted area, he was 23 of 35. In the paint, outside of the restricted area, but still in the paint, he was 5 of 20, and outside the paint, he was 0 for 4. Didn't make a shot outside the paint. We think we know what he needs to work on in the offseason.
Jump shot.
Holy smokes.
Elbow jumper.
Wow.
He needs to work on some beef. Balance,
eyes,
elbow,
and
tempo.
And
beef. Follow through.
That's it.
Beef. Kids,
talking beef, right?
We are
talking beef.
We're just moving.
Beef Talk
through.
Golic,
Wingo,
nationwide beef.
Wow.
Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo, and Jason Fitz from Spain to Fit, 6 to 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Hey. We continue. The Yankees continue. They rallied from 6-5 down to take care of the Boston Red Sox 9-6. They are now 17-1 in their last 18 games. It's the best 18-game stretch in a season since 1953 for the New York Yankees.
And listen, I'll say it again. We keep talking about the hitters, and they're doing a great job, but I think most of the love has to go to the pitching. Before that, when they were 9-9, they had a 4.61 ERA, and this run, it's 2.28. I mean, the pitching has been fantastic. Now it's backed up with great hitting, so it's like instead of, hey, you're slow, but you make up for it by being weak, hey, you're pitching well and you're making up for it by hitting well. I mean, that shows to 17-1, but they got it rocking right now.
Yeah, you make up for it by doing the known commodity well, and that was exactly what we expected coming into this season, and the combination of those two is why you're going to win 17 of 18. All of this feels cruel, though, because you've got this going on in New York where they're used to the wins and the pinstripes, and then across town for the Mets, who just years ago had a World Series appearance.
It feels like a decade ago.
It feels like a lifetime ago. You had a World Series appearance and a a rotation full of aces, and you just watch one of them depart, and now you can't even bat in the right order.
Well, and the expectations for the Mets were going to be at least something to watch this year, and it's something to watch in the absolute wrong way.
Right.
The staggering thing to me is that we started the playoff conversation yesterday. Like Stephen A. Smith yesterday was talking about the fact that the wild card system is broken because it's a one game, and one of these two teams, Boston or New York, is going to get stuck in that one game playoff system. Are we going to spend the whole baseball season talking about the broken playoff system? Like, I think we should just sort of enjoy whatever this is because it's a very long process.
Let me sum that up. Yes, we probably will.
Fair point.
By the way, we mentioned best 18-game stretch since 1953. Here was the Yankees' traditional lineup that season. Yogi Berra, Joe Collins, Billy Martin, Phil Rizzuto, Gil McDougall, Gene Woodling, Hank Bauer, and Mickey Mantle. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's
the
pretty
pitching
good.
staff, Whitey Ford, Vic Raschi, Eddie Lopat, Allie Reynolds, and Johnny Sane. I mean, that's the kind of thing we're looking at here. That's a pretty decent lineup as they have matched that 18-game stretch this year with going 17-1. And the Jets play the Preds in Game 7 for a spot in the conference finals to face the Golden Knights. According to Natural Stat Trick, the Jets and Preds have played 320 minutes, 34 seconds at 5-on-5 in the first 6 games and have exact same number of shots, attempts, and shots on goal.
So this is, speaking of the playoff conversation that we're going to have all year in baseball, this is a reminder that we get almost annually in the NHL where the two best teams are playing right now. It's unfortunate. It's just the way the system is, but we're getting the two best teams, at least by points, in the NHL. Justin Timberlake makes all the difference in this series. I know that sounds weird, but Game 7 should have been last night. And Game 7 could not be last night because Bridgestone Arena in Nashville has a Justin Timberlake concert. They could not move that concert, so Game 7 instead is tonight. Pekka Rinne is 11-3 in the playoffs when he gets an extra day of rest, and he has been inconsistent in this series. So Justin Timberlake actually is getting the wild assist.
JT.
There you go.
Wow.
That's such a Nashville problem.
That is a true point. But people don't realize to move a concert like that, a lot of times those concerts, I can't speak to his, but a lot of them have guarantees that are in the millions of dollars. So to say, hey, we're going to move you a few months, cash.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran did that for the NFL,
the
right?
Entire NFL, like the first half of the NFL season is being dictated about who plays home and away in many cases because of an Ed Sheeran touring concert.
How nervous are you going to be, though, tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. I mean, Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. The game tips, the puck drops at 8 tonight. So, the last hour is just going to be, we're just going to see how that goes. And then I have SportsCenter on Snapchat tonight. So I have bribed the entire Snapchat crew with food. I'm going to provide the food and let them do all of the work so I can just sit there and either celebrate or soak in some
cry
misery.
in your own sorrow.
Yeah, I don't know how that, Game 7, Nashville's also never hosted. So this is for a city that, always loves a party. Nashville gets their first ever Game 7.
What a party.
You can get a fair amount of advice from your co-host. I mean, Sarah's been used to watching those Blackhawks teams for years skate circles around everyone, and now finally gets to take a year off.
Yeah, she reminds me, I ask her all the time how the playoffs are going this year for her, and then she conversely reminds me how many cups they have.
Beer and catfish.
Yeah.
Beer and catfish.
Beer and catfish.
Let's go.
Well, yes, but not beer and catfish in the traditional sense.
No.
I'll have fried catfish and a beer. No, I'll have my beer off a dead raw catfish.
There you
That's
go.
the different way.
And the slime that
we'll
comes
see what
with it.
happens going forward. As we continue, Golic and Wingo, Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here, and Jason Fitz. Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 Eastern.
Hey.
ESPN Radio.
Who knew?
Okay, so we've got a lot to get to. And before we get into the next thing we're going to do, we do need to have one more recap. People understand that we're all dragging a little bit today. We're all sort of down in the dumps. I can't remember. Did you participate in the toddler racing bets?
Okay, so yes, I did.
And did your toddler
win? My toddler lost, and I'm just because we're being honest with everybody. Because I had the show later that night, I chose not to partake in any alcohol, and so I was.
You're winning today.
I was yes, but I wasn't winning yesterday. I lost money on toddler races while I was sober, and everybody else.
You should have been able to handicap it better.
Yeah.
Again, what we're talking about
toddler
is
the hood fell. It wasn't my fault.
Hartford Yard Goats, the AA affiliate of the Rockies here in a fantastic stadium, Dunkin' Donuts Park. We were out there for a Golic and Wingo,
team building
experience, and we built it through food and alcohol. We had Tim Tebow on before that series started, and we said we were going to be there heckling him as his team was in town, and our boy Jerry certainly did heckle him. We were true to our word. But it got out of hand. It was a 10:30 start, and we did. There was money laid down on the table for a toddler race. A toddler race.
Yeah.
We bet. There were a few other races that I felt better about betting on, but the toddlers, all of a sudden you got money on a 3-year-old.
Did
that
the
was
kids
tough.
really need the hoods up? Because that seemed to be a distraction for a lot of them.
That cost number 3. The number 3 lost his hood, and the kid just stopped.
Out of the box.
Just stopped.
See, I didn't bet on 3 beforehand because 3 was sort of wandering around. I bet on 2 because 2 got in a runner's stance well before it was time. I was like, all right, 2 knows what's going on. That did not turn out to be the case.
That's where we've got to.
We devolved.
We have devolved at a molecular level, according to Junior.
Yes, no.
So listen, because of that and because of all the things that have been going on, our producer Dan Stanzik, who by the way was also there with us.
Yes, he was.
By the way, I think that he was the worst out of all of us, probably.
Probably him or Jerry.
Yeah. Oh, Jerry. Yeah. Well,
maybe Brett.
Yeah. Brett. Well, Brettomology is suffering today. There's no question. So Stanzik's trying to take it easy on us. So we've got this thing called Loaded Questions.
There you go.
We had loaded tater tots yesterday.
Yes, they were. By the way, my favorite thing about that is with all the food, and it was put up on the Golic and Wingo Instagram account, and you put it up there as well. The only food that wasn't touched, the salad.
The salad. There
we
was
didn't
a
order
salad.
that. We didn't touch the salad.
My wife, who ordered the food, said, I never ordered a salad.
Yeah.
And the salad came, and the salad was untouched.
Well, and what Mike's not telling you is there was a moment I was inside the suite area and having coffee, and the waitress walked in and she said, "Well, I've got all these shrimp, but I don't know where to put them." And they had like these bacon
wrapped
shrimp.
Yeah.
That looked delightful, and Mike was like, "Well, just get the salad out of here."
The salad.
He immediately threw that out to her, and she didn't do it. She left the salad. She found another spot for it.
I mean, take the hint. We're not eating the salad, okay? As much as you want us to, we're not doing it.
Take the salad. All right, let's take Loaded Questions now. Brought to you by GNC. Ignite what's inside you at GNC, which might be a bad idea today. Buy 2, get 1 free for a limited time. GNC, live well. Okay, you ready? We're going to go around the table. Junior, we'll start with you. Sixers fans, not named Cliff, Sixers fans should feel blank about their season?
I want to give you some snarky answer, but it's encouraged. This is nothing but a building block year, and I think the most value they got out of this postseason was in the last 2 games, and getting a win in Game 4 of this series and then in Game 5 last night to be able to weather a couple of the major points where it looked like Boston was going to run away and hide with the game are going to be the biggest building blocks going forward that they can watch next year.
I'm going to say hopeful of what the future holds. And I'll separate because as players, the players will be highly disappointed.
Yep.
Highly, because they were on the court. They were right there. They had the lead. They're going to feel like, oh, we don't care about the future. We think in the now we could have won. But from the fans' perspective, I would absolutely say hopeful.
Yeah, I would have to say completely encouraged. You know, I mean, what they were the last couple of years to where they are now is ridiculous, and people like Cliff tend to be very ridiculous in their expectations. So this is nothing but a positive to build on if you are the Philadelphia 76ers.
They should be ecstatic because you still have to look at the beacon of light. They didn't get anything from Markelle Fultz all year, no matter what we think he's going to be. And Ben Simmons was just a shell of himself in the playoffs, as we talked about earlier. You got to believe that's not going to happen again. So you get those 2 pieces back, it's a reason to say, you know what? Things are better.
Boy, you went
up there.
You know what?
High octave.
You know what? That was very good.
We need to have you come on and announce T.J. McConnell's eventual max contract in that voice.
Wow. You know what? All right, we continue with loaded questions. Over under 4.5 combined wins for the Rockets and Celtics in the conference finals. Again, the Rockets are playing Golden State, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the way of the Boston Celtics.
If you had to ask me, I'd go under on this, and I'd assume.
Would you hammer the under?
I would hammer the under on this. I'd assume that both games at max would go 6 in each of these series. I think now that we've seen the Cavaliers gain confidence from their series against the Raptors, they didn't learn anything new about themselves. Right. They didn't become a different team, but they at least got in a better rhythm. They found a bit more offensive flow, which is where this team's going to have to win because defensively, they're not going to flip the switch overnight and become something new on that side of the court.
Yeah, I agree. This isn't anything new. We just have to see if they're going to be consistent in what they're doing because Boston's certainly the more athletic team out there. I'll definitely say the under. I don't think there'll be any sweeps. I wouldn't be surprised if each of the teams got 1 win, but I'll agree with you. The max they're going to get is 2 wins, so that would be 4 total. So I'll go under here.
I will also take the under. Look, I don't think they've lost four games in the playoffs since Kevin Durant got there in total, or 4. I think they've lost 4 or 5. That's it. So yeah, I don't see any way that one team's getting more than 3. So that would put you at over, so I have to take the under here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under, and that's a huge loss for the NBA because this Rockets-Warriors series is what we've been building up for a year. I mean, not only does it need to be an incredible series, like the NBA needs it to go 6 or 7 games because the finals are going to be a joke comparatively, so they need some sort of excitement out of this. So it's unfortunate for the NBA that we're all taking the under here.
I'd be amazed how much the NBA does need this. That was what I was wondering this morning. We were talking on First and Last. How much does it? Because up until this point, the NBA has been able to mask what has otherwise been a year that gave us the exact Final Four that we expected coming into this season. That we got enough little bit of meandering along the way in a playoffs where Golden State's lost 1 game a series so far, which puts them just 2 above last year leading up to this point. Is that all we really needed for this to go well?
But I will say this. The NBA has to sell us that June and July matter, and they can't do that. I just got buzzed.
No, you got buzzed.
Yeah, you buzzed. Wow, you actually respected it.
See, that's why I didn't walk on the mound, you savages. They need it to matter so that June and July can matter in free agency because they can sell us then, hey, it mattered last year.
And we need to matter moving forward here as we're doing loaded questions. Golic, Wingo, 2 Golics, 1 Wingo, and Jason Fitz of Spain and Fitz, 6 to 9 Eastern, ESPN Radio. Okay, now that Chris Paul and Alexander Ovechkin, or as we called him yesterday, Alan Ovechkin, have each made the conference finals. Who's the best athlete in sports that has not reached the semifinals in their respective sport? Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Mike Trout, Giancarlo Stanton, Odell Beckham Jr., J.J. Watt.
Or anybody
Tyron
else,
Smith,
you think?
Anybody.
Yeah.
I'm really hyped that Tyron Smith's included on this list. I don't know when we started playing credence to offensive linemen at this level, but what a time to be alive. It's Anthony Davis. It's Anthony Davis running away and hiding with this. Watching him during this year's playoff run, in addition to being surprised by Drew Holiday, I was reminded what a commodity we've had lost and sequestered in down in New Orleans right now, really just biding his time for a lot of people until they thought maybe he'd move on to greener pastures. Now the decision becomes, how do you structure that team around him with Boogie Cousins this offseason? Because this guy on the court with Golden State at times looked like he might be the best player on that whole floor.
Yeah, we're going to disagree on that. I'm going Mike Trout. Mike Trout's the best player in baseball. Hasn't even won a playoff game, let alone getting to the conference finals of your respective sports. So I go with Mike because he's just so not underrated, but nobody talks about him. Right. You never hear about the guy.
What are we talking about this season with the Angels? Shohei Ohtani and Albert Pujols getting 3,000 hits.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He's a two-time MVP. He's finished second 3 times.
Ridiculous.
I'm with you 100% in on Mike Trout.
I'm with Golic Jr. I'm going to go Anthony Davis, but it's also partially because of the path. It just feels like when you talk about the NBA, it's so easy to get yourself to the situation where you can make it that far. I mean, we're not even talking about the NFL guys because one guy can't make that much of a difference in that process, but in the NBA they can. So I'm going to go Anthony Davis.
Well, you guys are wrong, and Golic and I are right. That's
it's an opinion thing. I would never say that they're wrong, even though they are.
They are. No worries. All right, Fitz, go get it amped up.
I'm going to go ice my shoulder.
Yes.
I'm going to ice my shoulder.
There you go, and ice down some other stuff to get ready for the Preds Game 7.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
We are delighted to be joined now by the Golf Channel analyst and former Tiger Woods teammate and roommate at Stanford, Notah Begay. He joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join, and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Notah, thanks for being with us this morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How's everything going?
Good.
Going well.
The last time we had Notah on, he actually was the one that told us he was the one that gave Tiger the nickname Urkel in college. That was not the part I did not know. That was him. So what do you think it means for Tiger and Phil, the fact that they're paired together for the first time in a long time?
Well, I think it means that the PGA Tour has come to a point where they realize that if they put these marquee pairings together, there's also a really great pairing going off about 30, maybe a little bit more than 30 minutes before them in Spieth, McIlroy, and Thomas. So there's just creating a lot of intrigue around early round golf, which typically can get a little bit boring at times. More boring than normal with golf. So, guys, I know, the regular sports fans are kind of turned away from golf at times, but it just creates a lot of excitement. I mean, we've been talking about this all week. The galleries are going to be huge, and not to mention you're throwing in, one of the biggest young superstars into that group in Ricky Fowler as well. So don't overlook that.
So along those lines, I'm always wondering, take us down there on the course. We've heard the stories of Phil and Tiger maybe not getting along years ago. So put that in general. When you're starting the first couple days of the tournament, or really any of them, when you're paired with somebody that you don't like, because let's be honest, not everybody gets along. If you really don't like somebody you're paired with, how does that go sometimes on the course?
Well, there's usually not a lot of talking. And there's usually, you're not talking about your favorite color or, what's going on or your sports teams or anything like that. It's just usually very cordial. Golf, I think that's one of the nice things about our sport is everybody's very respectful of each other and cordial. And so it's, you ask just very simple questions, but there's not a lot of just general discussion that you would have with, say, so when Tiger and I would play together, it was we'd both hit our tee shots, and then we literally would walk from the tee all the way to the fairway together, just talking about whatever it is was, topic of interest at that time. And when players get along well, there's a lot of just friendly talk. But when you don't, you really don't say too many words to each other.
Talking to Notah Begay on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And as far as these two as golfers now, based on what you've seen so far in this season, who would you give the edge to going into the tournament? Who do you expect to play well on this course in particular?
Well, I would probably give the edge to Tiger at this point. And this is why, because the Valspar Championship is contested on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. And it's a very tight, demanding golf course off the tee that doesn't require a lot of drivers, which I think is one of the things that benefited Tiger when he was able to play so well there. TPC Sawgrass is a similar type of golf course. It takes driver out of your hands a lot, which I think is a good thing for Phil. But I think Tiger benefits. He has a 2-iron that he put in his bag sort of late last year that he can hit about 260 yards off the tee, and he can shape it both ways. So I think you're going to see him really rely on that club in a lot of instances, and then he's comfortable with his 3-wood. His driver hasn't been particularly cooperative this year. So the driver for both players isn't a strength, but this type of golf course I think is more of a position golf course off the tee, and then you try and make your score with your approach shots.
Notah Begay with us, part of the Golf Channel's live coverage from the Players news coverage this week from 9 a.m. to 1. And then Thursday's round of the Players Champions airs on the Golf Channel from 1 to 7, specifically talking about Tiger and Phil. I think we all know over the years that they weren't best of friends. There was that time at the Ryder Cup a few years ago when Captain Hal Sutton paired them together. Thought it would be a great thing. The pairing was a disaster. They didn't play well playing with each other. But it seems like this relationship has evolved as they've gotten older and into their 40s now. How do you see the relationship between Phil and Tiger now as opposed to what it was when they were both in their peak, basically trying to beat each other's brains out with a 7-iron?
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. Tiger and I were playing at the Byron Nelson, which is coming at the AT&T Byron Nelson, which is coming up next week in Dallas. And we were in the basement of the hotel going up to our rooms. We just finished a workout at the gym and hopped in the elevator, Tiger and myself. We went up to the lobby level, and who walks into the elevator and saw us? And if he had his wish, he would have turned around and walked back into the lobby, but it was Phil Mickelson. And this was when Tiger had really started to dominate and was Phil could not beat him. I mean, you heard him in this press conference this week. He talked about, I just couldn't figure out how to beat Tiger. And this was that period of time where Tiger just owned Phil. And we rode up like 4 or 5 floors and not one word was said. And the door opens, Phil gets off, door shuts, and kind of Tiger just stayed quiet, and we didn't really, talk about it too much. But to where you see them now, where they're joking with each other, they're very complimentary of each other and where they're at in terms of their place in the game. And that came about a lot because of their participation on task force related to the Ryder Cup, because they were on regular conference calls together, and they have 2 of the worst records with regard to their performance in the Ryder Cup. And so I think they put aside any, issues that they had, because they both wanted to see the United States succeed and do better in the Ryder Cup, because up until that point, we had lost 8 out of the 10 previous Ryder Cups to the European side. And so that really facilitated more communication, and they started to see things that they had in common. And then as every athlete gets to the end of their career and realizes that the end is closer than the beginning, you start to appreciate the people that you battled against, sort of Magic and Larry and those kinds of things start to come into your mind, saying, well, I really appreciate this guy because he made me better. He made me work harder. And I think you're starting to see that now through the friendship that was fostered primarily through their support of the American side in the Ryder Cup discussion.
Still trying to think of how uncomfortable that elevator ride was.
Real quick, were you?
It was kind of quiet in there, guys.
Notah, were you the guy that's just like, I don't want to say anything. I'm pretending like I'm not here?
I was having the best time because I'm like, I want to see how this elevator might explode. I mean, it was just, I kind of chuckled to myself. I go, I wonder what's going to happen here. It was just because it'd been, I mean, we'd gone against, those guys had gone against each other a little bit in college, but because of the age disparity, not a whole lot. I mean, in amateur golf, I mean, so it was a quiet elevator ride, guys.
So, all right. So let's go. I love going to the mental side of athletes. 17th hole should be, listen, 137-yard shot, 9-iron wedge for these guys, whatever, should be for pros fairly easy. Should be. But in the last 15 years, that 17th hole has combined 762 over par and 703 balls have wound up in the water. Why is the 17th hole so difficult for you professionals?
Because it's just water. I mean, it's the same reason that scares the wits out of every amateur golfer is you could put just a regular par 3 with no water, and an amateur will get up there and, they'll hit it. They might hit the green, or they might hit it in the bunker or just short of the green. But you put water into the equation, all of a sudden everybody just stiffens up. And it's the same thing with this. It's completely surrounded by water. And there's 3 tiny sections of the green. There's the back section, the front section, and then the middle right section. And so the over par score is you can attribute to, if you miss the appropriate section of the green that the hole's cut, you have a really, really tough time getting down into for par. That's if you manage to hit the green.
Right.
Now, if you miss the green and you hit it in the water, the drop is no easy shot either, because you're about 70 yards and you're like, can I get enough spin on this? Can I keep it down if the wind is swirling, which it always swirls on that particular part, especially now with all the big grandstands. The wind just comes up and down, up and over those big hospitality areas. And so I think the wind and the water are the 2 biggest considerations as far as pros with regard to them having some big problems with that hole.
Yeah, they call it the scariest 120-yard shot in all of golf. All right, yeah. Notah, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for the insights, and we look forward to watching you on the Golf Channel this week.
Thanks, Notah.
Thanks, Notah.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
We're delighted to be joined now by Jeff Van Gundy, our fine ESPN NBA analyst. Jeff, you've sort of won a little bit back and forth on Houston versus Golden State during the season. You thought Houston had a chance. They have the number 1 seed. They have home court advantage. How do you see this Western Conference final playing out right now?
Well, it's really the finals, right? So Whoever wins this is going to win the whole thing, and I think it's going to be fascinating. I think Golden State has a little bit more overall talent, but I think Houston has a hunger advantage that Golden State really can't match because of all their success over the last 3 years. And I think home court advantage eventually will pay off, and Houston will win in 7.
Wow. Oh, so you are going with Houston.
Wow.
That's interesting. I think that's going to be in the minority of picks, but certainly a heck of a pick. As far as in breaking these down, we had Timmy Legler on the other day, and I asked him about, okay, let's look at these 2 series and let's look at matchup potential. And he said in the NBA of today, you don't talk about matchups anymore because teams just screen and switch, and you can create kind of what you want, a mismatch, so to speak. Can you expound upon that? Is that what we're seeing now in the NBA?
Well, switching is certainly more in vogue, and not just on, pick and roll actions. It's off the ball as well. And I think offenses, after the switch occurs, teams play different. You'll see a noticeable difference between how Houston plays after they get the matchup they want and Golden State. Golden State, for the most part, will continue to move the ball, pass, cut, screen, not allowing the switch to stagnate them, whereas you'll see Houston right away, Harden and Paul will isolate, and they'll dribble, and test your switcher, usually a big guy, if he can, guard the ball against a Hall of Fame type guard. And so it's fascinating to see the 2 approaches offensively. The common denominator, the common thread, is that they both create quality shots.
No, they certainly do. Jeff Van Gundy with us, our NBA analyst. I want to go back to you said Houston in 7. Just out of curiosity, but is home court the thing that you think will dictate this, or do you think there's something else in the matchups or the way that Houston plays gives them the advantage over Golden State?
Man, I'm just guessing. I got no clue, right? So if somebody would have said, hey, I think Golden State will win in 5, I'd say, hey, that's a heck of a pick. Or Golden State in 6, or, it's like, to me, the beauty of it is we don't know.
Yeah.
I think the proven nature of Golden State is probably why most people, they got Durant and Curry now back with Thompson and very good defense. But I think Houston's defense is underrated. Now, they're a team that'll switch 1 through 5 on most actions, and it's confounded a lot of teams this year. They're a very good defensive team. I'm going to be interested to watch, though, when they switch an initial action, can they stay with it for 24 seconds? Because it's different. Like if Clint Capella is guarding a pick and roll and he switches it, and his guy tries to take him one-on-one, that's one thing. He's got very good feet. But can he have the discipline against Golden State where they don't try to go one-on-one right away and they keep moving the ball, cutting and screen? Can they make the second and third and fourth switches that they want to do correctly? And can he maintain his, defensive discipline? I just can't wait to watch. But frankly, no clue about who's going to win.
Jeff, over in the East, at the beginning of the season with Gordon Hayward healthy and obviously Kyrie, Boston ending up in the conference finals, I don't think was too shocking, but you lose Hayward right out of the gate, no Kyrie in the playoffs, yet they're still in the conference finals. What have been a couple of the things in your mind that have put them in position to be where they are right now?
Well, they're a great defensive team with exceptional length. So they moved on from Bradley and Crowder and Isaiah Thomas, and they've gotten bigger at every position. And so now they were a very good defensive team last year. They're an absolute elite defensive team this year. I think they're much better equipped to guard Cleveland this year for many reasons. Their improvements and Cleveland's I don't know. Can you say disimprovements? Whatever their regression.
They're devolving.
They're not as good. So I think they're just much better equipped, to guard Cleveland. I think the question for Boston is, Cleveland's been a very bad defensive team, and then they got steeled a little bit against Indiana. And then I was shocked that they swept Toronto, but they played well, and defensively they were much more active and alert. And so I'll be interested to see if Boston can score enough. But I think everyone's got it like a little bit backwards. I don't see it as – I would pick Boston. If you made me give a pick, I'd pick Boston in this series.
Wow. Listen, it's interesting. They will have home court, but it's just so hard, Jeff, to go against LeBron when you see what he's doing. It's funny, the discussion is always, Jordan, LeBron. I feel like this year people are finally appreciating LeBron in a different way, even though there's probably zero chance he's actually going to win a ring this year because of what he's doing with what he's got around him.
It reminds me a lot of the first time he went to the finals. Right? They didn't have a lot. They didn't have a great roster, but he was unbelievable in that Detroit series, getting them to the finals against San Antonio. And I think it's the same thing right now. I think he's got guys playing very well right now, but they are limited athletically and talent-wise. It's really remarkable. And the thing about the Jordan-James comparison to me is, comparison can many times be the thief of joy, because when you say one's better than the other one, then you're seeming to denigrate the other guy and his accomplishment. Right. I don't know why we can't just say, both are unbelievable, like certainly of the all-time best. And listen, Toronto, everybody's given them grief about getting swept, and they lost 2 tough games. And the shot James made to end Game 3, that was one for the ages. That is an impossible shot. That was very well defended by Toronto. And I was saying to somebody the other day, you become an all-time great because you win those type of series, right? If you didn't win those type of series, you wouldn't be an all-time great. And like James once again proves why he's an all-time great.
Jeff, let's go to a couple of head coaching questions. First, when there are firsts in a sport, they're always headlined and talked about. Becky Hammon, the assistant coach for San Antonio, getting an interview with Milwaukee, first time for a woman getting an interview for a head coaching job in the NBA, and then the potential of her being a head coach in the NBA. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I've seen her twice in a practice setting with San Antonio when I've watched them in practice, and she was good on the practice floor. They have a great coaching staff. Obviously, everyone knows about Pop, but Coach Messina, James Borrego just got the job in Charlotte, Ime Udoka, Chip England. They got a great staff. It's hard. There's so many qualified assistants who've done it for a long, long time and are dying not only just to get an interview, but to get that one chance. And I don't think she'll get one right now because I don't think she has been on a bench yet. I think that would be the next step for her. But I give San Antonio and her a lot of credit in that when you're trying to break through a barrier for equality, it's a challenge. And, Milwaukee giving her the opportunity to interview, I think sends a signal to everyone that everyone, if qualified, has a chance at these coveted jobs.
Absolutely. Look, it's the first step in what could be an historic process going forward. We'll see how that plays out and what the next thing, as you alluded to, maybe being on a bench going forward will be the next thing for her in her quest to eventually maybe get a chance to be a head coach in the NBA. Jeff, as always, we appreciate it. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Jeff.
You got it.
Golic
Makes me want to vomit and then punch you square in the face.
and Wingo.
Oh, he's saucy today.
Tim Legler is here with us in studio. The idea that the coaches, all the coaches in the NBA voted on their Coach of the Year award, and not one person voted for Brad Stevens. How is that even possible?
I don't know. I don't understand it. I really don't know. I mean, that's the kind of thing, because it's a coach's poll, you'd have to talk to those other guys and find out, is there resentment? Is it because this guy came from college and they're sticking together with the lifetime pros? Like, I don't know how that's possible, because for me, Brad Stevens doesn't take a backseat to any coach in this league. Now, I love Dwayne Casey.
Yeah.
And absolutely, he's going to be in the running for Coach of the Year when the actual awards come out.
Right.
For me, I thought the Coach of the Year this particular season was Nate McMillan. I had that team penciled in for 22 to 25 wins.
Right.
I have no idea how they pulled off what they did. And then even take a team like Cleveland to 7 games. And then you look at Cleveland go sweep the number 1 seed in the next round, even speaks more about the job that Nate McMillan did in that team. So Coach of the Year is this particular team. What did you do with them? My vote would have gone to Nate McMillan this year. Casey's obviously in that mix, but Brad Stevens, I mean, year after year, game in, game out, Brad Stevens takes a backseat to nobody in this league.
Well, we'll obviously keep talking about him and his team going forward because they're still playing. But how about Casey and how about Brett Brown? 2 guys, Casey really talking about should he lose his job. Brett Brown, could he possibly lose his job? Do you think either one should lose their job?
No, actually, in both cases, I'd say no. And you know me, in the past, I haven't had a problem saying when I think a guy hasn't done a great job.
Right.
Hasn't maybe the most popular guy with some of the coaches, but in this particular case, no. If I look at Toronto, I say top 5 in the league on both ends of the floor. Only 2 teams did it, Houston and Toronto. So the team is prepared. They execute. They play hard most of the time when I watch them. For me, theirs is more of a personnel problem. Their best players can't elevate themselves to a level they need to in the postseason that all of these other teams that play in conference finals and finals have. They just don't have guys. Their elevators don't go to that floor. Other teams have guys on that level. They do not. So to me, it's more of a personnel problem than it is a coaching problem. And in the case of Brett Brown, this was a team that was the laughingstock of the league just 2 years ago.
Correct.
So to go and play a competitive series. Now, look, there are things we can point to in this series that I would question about the way they handled things, particularly some of their game management late. Mm-hmm. But I also think part of it's because they don't have a true point guard on that team. And that's how you manage late game situations. So that hurt them in 2 different games in this series. They didn't close out. Or maybe right now we're talking about 7-game series in Philly-Boston. Game 3 at home.
They were up 20.
They blew 4 different times.
Yeah.
And then even last night, some of the possessions they had late in that game, Boston made plays, Philly did not, and some of it came down to what they were running And is that Brett Brown? Yeah, but it's also the limitations of guys on his team. So where the ball has to go in certain situations. That's why you're posting up Dario Saric out of a timeout in a tie game, rather than put the ball in Ben Simmons' hand and let him go make a play because of his limitations as a scorer outside the lane.
All right, so let me ask you this. Switch coaches. How does that series change? If Brad Stevens is on the Sixers and Brett Brown is running the Celtics.
Oh, man, that's tough because of how the Celtics players connect to Brad Stevens. So would they have the same connection to Brett Brown?
Yes.
Probably. He's a personable guy. So, yeah, probably would flip.
Probably would flip.
I think Brad Stevens is right now maybe the best coach in the NBA.
So you said the 76ers don't have a point guard. What are you doing with Ben Simmons?
Well, here's the thing. What I mean by that is this.
A true point guard.
He hasn't played point guard his whole life. Right. So he hasn't. He's up to me. When they said he was going to play point going into the season, I said, well, he's not going to play point. He's going to be a ball-handling forward, which is a luxury, like a LeBron, like a Draymond Green, like an Antetokounmpo, but not a point guard. Well, I was wrong. They made him the actual point guard. He brings it up after dead balls. He brings it up off rebounds. The ball's outletted to him. Problem is, he has limitations in his game that other guys on that level that play point in this league don't have. I mean, I could name you right now 10, 12, 15 top-tier point guards.
Right.
They can hit a three if they need to hit a three.
That's what Mike was saying earlier. He didn't take a shot outside of the contested area of the paint.
Yeah.
I mean,
and as a result, your offense is really limited in those situations. Like even last night, it's late in the game. I don't remember the exact situation. Maybe tied. Maybe they're down a bucket. They come up the floor. What does Ben Simmons do? He gets the ball in the hands of J.J. Redick to then run a two-man game or enter the ball into the post. Like, isn't that what a guy on that level that plays point is supposed to do? Like, Magic wasn't coming down and running a dribble handoff of Byron Scott and running to the corner. So Ben Simmons, with all the great things he does, he is not a natural point guard. And if he doesn't address his inability to score outside the lane, they're going to have problems managing late-game offense. They just are. You can't always throw it into the post in that situation. Sometimes you need a guard to make a play from a face-up position. And if that means make a three because a guard went under the pick, then you have to do that. And right now, that's just not what he's capable of doing.
Can he get there, though? Can he become that?
I'm concerned about some things when I watch his shooting mechanics. Like his hand placement with both hands is really poor, and I don't know if that's ever going to change. It would take a dramatic 4 or 5 month off season of, just with the right guy and in the gym every day and the commitment to do it. I hope that he sees that as something he really needs, not only for his own game so he can reach his full potential. His team needs him to be a threat other than inside of 10 feet because they already got a guy that's dominating that area of the floor.
Joel.
So it makes it a little crowded at times. So I'm not saying, look, you use 6'10", you get to the rim, you be Ben Simmons. A lot of the things he does are so unique to him, but man, would it be nice to see him make an 18-foot shot, make a three occasionally, if that's what the defense dictates, because I think their offense late in the game would open up. And now I see them as a more viable threat to close out close games, which they lost 2 in this series.
Yeah, Tim Legler with us for the remainder of the show. We'll get back to more basketball in a minute, but we wanted to get to this story. Peyton Manning might be coming back to the NFL.
How about this?
As a part owner.
There you go.
Charleston billionaire Ben Navarro has reached out to Peyton Manning about joining his ownership group that is bidding on the Carolina Panthers. This in the Charlotte Observer, according to a couple of sources they have. Manning is still considering the offer to become a limited partner, who spoke on condition, one of the sources of anonymity because of the confidential nature of the Panthers sale. This does not surprise you, Mike.
No.
This is when people look, we made a run at him and everybody made a run at him to be in the broadcast booth, but anybody that knows Peyton knows since the day he retired, he wants to be what John Elway is.
Oh, I agree, because he's been approached by like the Cleveland Browns reports about
Jimmy
the
Haslam,
front office there. Certainly, I'm sure the Colts would have a long thought process about that as well. But these guys like Derek Jeter, the minority partial ownership. These guys, in all the money they made, they can't afford to be the majority ownership of these guys. They don't start with B's,
right?
They're still in the M's,
no doubt.
Where the owners have the B's, the billions of dollars.
That's what Chris Rock always used to say, right? The difference between rich and wealthy.
Yeah.
Like rich is Shaq money, and wealthy's the guy that cuts that check.
Exactly
That's
right.
Exactly right.
That's exactly right.
So Peyton doing
that
this
was good.
Peyton doing this wouldn't be a shock. I think this is where he wants to go. I would imagine in most cases, now a lot of it's a money thing when you can be a partial owner, but If you would rather be involved in the game, would you like to be involved in the game as a general manager or a coach? I mean, I guess it comes down to what you want to do. General manager, obviously, there's more responsibilities, but would you miss that everyday coach thing? But I don't think anybody thought he wanted to be a coach at all.
Right.
He wants to be in that decision-making process.
Right. It comes down to what your temperament is and what, for me, it would be coach. Because I miss the competition more than anything. And knowing that I have a direct impact on a game-to-game basis of what's going on. GM, those guys are obviously critical. They put together the team, but they're not managing it possession by possession, play by play, snap by snap, trying to figure out a way to get a win. To me, that is what a lot of athletes really crave. But I think, it's a lot less stress going up and sitting up in the owner's box too, during the games, knowing you put a team together without having the pressure of making
and then it also comes down to, like, Elway, was making the decision. Right. So if Peyton were a part owner, would it be to be the face of the team, or would it be a decision maker of that team, like a GM?
He loves football so much. Yeah. I think he wants to be, like, the owner part is great, but he wants to be involved.
I would think so as well.
Knowing Peyton, whatever he does, he's involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing he just says, yeah, sure. You guys handle it. Not his personality in any way, shape, or form.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.